Okay, I'm back. I'm Gertie. We're doing the sew along, and next I want to talk about using the finished measurement chart and special measurements that you need to take for a jumpsuit and for pants. Okay, so up till now we've just talked about the size chart, which is on the back of the Jane Set envelope. Next I want to talk about the finished measurement chart, which is inside the booklet, which is inside the envelope. Okay, if you open to the fitting chapter, a guide to fitting on page 12, there is another chart of body measurements, and this is the finished measurement chart, and that means that if you measure the garment flat, this is what it's going to measure. Now usually a garment is bigger than your body because it has a little bit of ease. In the case of the Jane Set, this is very unusual, by the way, for a woven garment because we're using stretch wovens here. The Jane Set is going to be smaller than your body. That means that it has negative ease because it's stretchy. It's meant to be made with a fabric that has at least 25% stretch. And if you're not sure what that means, please read my blog post on fabric recommendations for this pattern. But it's going to be smaller than you, and it's going to stretch to fit your body snugly. Okay, when I sent this pattern out to testers, they were all afraid of this idea of negative ease, and they almost all of them picked a size bigger than I would have told them to make because they were scared of seeing finished garment measurements that were smaller than their body, which I totally understand. But I know for a fact that you're going to be happier with the fit of this if you go with the guideline of 1 to 3 inches of negative ease. So remember in my last video, I chose a 6D for her and knew that I would need to take away from the waist because she is a little smaller in the waist. So I'm going to look at the finished measurements at the 6D, and the D-cup bust is 36 inches, so that's an inch smaller than her actual bust, which is good. That's within the guideline of 1 to 3 inches of negative ease. The finished waist is 27 inches. That's the same as her waist. So I would actually take away about an inch on the pattern, and we can talk about pattern adjustments later. You're also going to want to get your hip measurement, and that is at the fullest part of the hip. It's very important that when you're taking your hip measurement, you stand with your legs together so that there's no gap between your thighs. I'm not going to take her hip measurement because she does have a little thigh gap there, so it wouldn't be accurate. I often notice that when I take my hip measurement, I'm sort of unconsciously standing with my legs slightly spread, which is going to make your hips a little bigger. So make sure your hips are together, your legs are together, and that you're measuring at the widest part of your hip, which may be like around your butt really, and not what we think of as like the hip up here, okay? So you may be going low, like down here. So you want to compare that to the size chart and to the finished measurement chart, and you're also going to want to get a crotch length measurement, okay? And let me tell you what that is. And it's very important for jumpsuits, and especially making your own jumpsuit, you want to make sure that it fits you well in the length of the torso, okay? So I want to get the measurement from here, center front at the waist, to center back at the waist, okay? So pretty much her entire crotch. So you're going to go between the legs. This is an intimate measurement. You're going to go between the legs like this. You're going to start at center front at the waist. And I'm going to go right up the back and get that measurement and I'm measuring to the back waist. And I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to try to do this gracefully. Turn this around, the back waistline, okay? So I'm taking like a U shape here. And her entire crotch length measurement is 26 inches. And that crotch length measurement is on the size chart, or I'm sorry, the finished measurement chart. So you're gonna consult that chart again on page 13. So for a size 6, the crotch length for the pants is 26 inches. That doesn't have any ease though. So I would probably give yourself a little bit of ease lengthwise, all right? So she might actually need a little bit of length added to her torso because the stretch in this garment goes around the body. It doesn't go lengthwise, okay? So that negative ease doesn't really apply to the crotch measurement. So she would probably want to gain, between ½ an inch to an inch of ease. So if I were making her a muslin, I would probably add a little bit to the front and the back equally. And we'll talk about pant alterations later in the sew along. But for now, just know that she would probably need to add a little bit and then test it out in the muslin. Muslin is so important for all sewing projects, I think, but especially for this one, because it's very particular with the torso fit. Okay, so that's everything. We talked about finished measurements. We talked about that crotch length measurement, which is really important, but just really want to stress to you to keep consulting this chart. And if you have questions about the sew along, please let us know.